Hey everyone. So this is Eddie Vialba, the North America Technology Team application modernization team. Just want to kind of talk about a little bit about Duet AI and some of the things I've been seeing, and I want to focus it on how I use it. And this is an example. A couple people have asked me, like, how do I, use. I wanted to take my business cases and turn it into code, or vice versa, or so on and so forth. And I've seen a lot of demos where you take functions, explain it, and then potentially, ask it to do unit tests. I'm a big proponent of test-driven development. So I want to see how I can use Duet AI in my workflow. So the opposite, I would write my tests, and then from my test, I had to tell it to create functions. But I took it one step further. It's like, what if I tell it to create my test for me, and then we kind of work together as a paired programmer? Duet, right? The whole point is it's a paired programmer. So just to kind of give you an example, this is going to be a very simplistic example, very quick video, it's a snippet. But I have a Go application. I'm very comfortable in Go, so I have a Go. Right now, I just have a Go like kind of main file, nothing too crazy. I have a server test Go. It's an empty file. This is where my test is going to go, and then my server Go. This is where my handler function is going to go. This is where all the code that would do my business logic would be, right? So test is my unit test for my business logic that will go in server Go. So I'm going to use Duet to kind of prompt it to give me what I want. So my prompt is kind of very relatively simplistic but straightforward. So I kind of pre-warm it, I think I call it, to tell it, hey, you're a software engineer with expertise in Golang. And then I say, create a simple unit test for a function that tracks a user's loyalty points using the following API. Get username should return a number indicating the total number of loyalty points. Post username should record a loyalty for that name, incrementing 1 point for every subsequent post. And then I use the Golang standard library for testing, because I don't want it to kind of maybe go out and find like unit tests or other libraries out there. I want to kind of stay within the standard library. But the converse is true. I can tell like I want specific libraries if your organization uses specific libraries or frameworks for different things. Right? So let's go ahead and see what it comes back with. So okay, it is a Go file, package main, import net HTTP test. Very good. That means they're using the new recorder, which we need to kind of like inspect and see what's happening, and then the testing framework. It creates a test function. Good. Oh, it uses a table-driven test format, which is really good. That's good practice. And let's see, create a struct, name, the request, the want. So the name of this test is get empty. The request is posting to user Alice, and it should be 0 because it's initial. And then I do a post. At that point, it should be a 1. Then I should do another get. I should return a 1. And then post again. That should return a 2. Technically, you can go back and say like, hey, I should get to 2 to verify 2, but that's okay. So here it runs through each test calling. Now, it created a handler function here, a function called loyalty points handler, or it named it, but it didn't implement it yet, right? That's okay. This is what TDD is supposed to do. So I'm going to server Go test. I'm going to go ahead and add to my current file, and here's my test. Okay, verify that everything is good. Good. Okay, now, if I click on run test, I should fail. Because, why is it failing? Expected package found end of file. What did I hear? What did I have here? That might have been my fault here, because I got package main. Yeah, okay. It might be the formatting in my file. I can probably do let's see, maybe because there's a cache. Yeah, so I think it's because my server Go file did not have a package main, and the way the testing framework works, it looks for the same file, server underscore test. So I just had to put package main in server Go and then run the test, right? So if I do my run test, this should fail because loyalty points handler is undefined, which is correct, right? So this is TDD. I have a test. Now I need to create minimal code to implement the test, right? So let's ask Duet to do that. So generate the loyalty points handler, loyalty points handler function to satisfy the unit tests provided. Right? Because that's all you're doing. You're just going to create a function that minimally satisfies the unit test provided. Let's see what it says. Now, because it has context, not just of your window, but what it said before into tokens. So here it says, here's a possible implementation of the loyalty points handler. So I'm going to go to my server Go file, package main, and I'm going to add this in here. And then let's just quickly import the requisite libraries. Okay, so now this is interesting. It used another kind of utility function, which is actually smart. It used a get loyalty points and an increment loyalty points utility function for the handler to do posts, which is actually pretty smart, right? So now I guess I would just say generate the get loyalty points and the increment. Let's just do one at a time. Generate the get loyalty points function as provided. Let's say this is a hard part about prompt engineering. Generate the get loyalty points function satisfy the code given. Let's try that. This is one of those things where prompt engineering comes into play. Look at that. Oh, this is okay. So it says use a database. We can create a mock for the database, but we'll just say simplify function by removing the database and use a map to track user to points. Okay. So it kind of went backwards on me. It went gorilla mux. So let's say disregard the last suggestion and implement the get loyalty points function with do not assume a database yet. Use sample data. There we go. Right. So it's just going to use sample data and then just put, that's okay. I told it to do that, right? So I'm like, just don't worry about that. Just put it in. So this is good, right? This is kind of like what we have to do. Prompt engineering is part of all that, right? So I could potentially go ahead and add this in here. Now, I will have to do a little bit of work now back on my test because now I've refactored my code and Alice and Bob are going to have some points it decided to give it points. I could start them with both 0, right? Which would make sense, right? So let's just do 0, and we'll do 0. That's easier, right, than having to go back into my test. Now we can say implement generate the function, the increment loyalty points function as provided. In the loyalty to satisfy the conditions. To satisfy the business logic provided. Let's see if that helps. We get him. We add it. It's simple. Perfect. I like it. All right. So now I've got get loyalty points. I've got increment loyalty points. I've got my server test that no longer has a invalid thing. I'm doing calls to Alice only, which is okay. So let's run our test. Okay. We have some failures. So it's probably because of the state. I'm not persisting state. So on the second one, on the post, Alice kind of pulls that out. So what I would have to do, and I saw it right away when I did it, but you'll notice I'm rewriting the points map on the post and get. So it kind of, this makes sense, right? I need to kind of move the points out of the functions and put them a little bit higher, right? So I can either tell Duet to do that. That seems a little bit more complicated than what's necessary. So what we can do is just we can cut this guy out. We can put it up top here, but that would then be a var, right? And again, the developer is not out of the equation here, right? It's not that's not the point. It is really, the point is I'm a developer, I'm checking the work, but it's helping me along and doing this pretty quickly, right? So now, okay, so that server test go. Let's do run test. Again, this is the great part of test-driven development, right? It should give us these kind of like what am I failing on? Okay, great. Because this is the business logic, right? I put in business logic. If this is correct, if this business logic is correct, that should be what I get back, right? So the 44 is failing. Let's see. So this one. So this is on post twice, which is this one. Post once and post twice are failing, most likely because am I incrementing? Yeah. So more points. Yep. Yep. So now we can go into debugging and seeing why the post once is returning back to 0 when really it should be pointing to a 1 because we posted, right? So at that point on the post, let me just verify that all of the, right? So in case post, I'm going to increment loyalty, pass the context, and default, did not invalid method. Okay, so, and then here I'm getting loyalty points, passing points in an error. So that comes back here. Oh, I think, let's see. So I think the problem is here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's do we'll do response points. Okay, and we'll do here response points. Okay, so basically what's happening is I kind of shadowed in this function here, and I think I overwrote the points, right? So it's an integer, so it comes back. And I think that's where the error came up. Let's try this again. Server test. I got good implementation. This is the same thing that I would kind of face if I'm doing, test-driven development and saying, hey, I want to do this. What is it? What is it that I'm trying to do? So on and so forth. And kind of like, okay, it's getting to get, it gets empty. It passes. It does the post once. It doesn't pass. The get after post does. But actually this shouldn't have a want, and that's why it's failing. So there is no want because I just figured it out. Okay, so what's happening is when you do a post, it doesn't return anything, right? So all the posts should come back with a 0, right? But there should be a get after post. So what I'll do is here, I will copy that. I will put that here. I will say get after second post and get user out. And then that should come back as 2, right? Because the post, I'm just posting. I'm not returning anything back from the post. So that logic is correct. If I run test, logic. Okay. So as you saw with bugs and everything, and some of the logic kind of messed up, that's okay. But it gives me a lot of the boilerplate code strategy. And more importantly, look what I started with. I just started with a business case for a specific function, right? A unit test function, or a very specific, here's what I need to build in the service, right? And now I can go further and say, okay, now create me a, use a net HTTP server to implement a main that will listen to default path for to implement this function, right? So let's do that. Generate the main function that will call the handler and respond on the default path using only the standard library. Serve on port 8080. And there's my main function, right? And I can take, copy this, go to my main, Control A, Control V, paste it in. Format should come in. I don't think it's using format, so I don't know why it's there. Nope. Not there. I don't know why it included the format function. Okay. So now we have our main, right? And technically now if I say go run, it is now listening on port 8080. If I bring in a browser window and do local host 8080 /user/Alice, gives me 0. Yeah, right, that's a get. If I did a post, it would increment there. So if I do like a curl with the post command and post this, right, it would give me, but it gives me 0. The main function is calling the test, and so far looks like everything is very good, right? So just wanted to kind of give you through like what my thought process is, how I like this better. Again, the reason being is sometimes I could write a function, as you saw, the function had some logic broken into it. If I did the opposite way, it would have created a test that would have absolutely passed, even though my business logic was wrong. But by going in telling it what my needs are for the function. And this could have been thought out a little bit more, but it picked it up. It was able to give me a test structure. I can validate the test structure, knowing the business rules and saying, yes, that's correct, that's correct, that's correct. And then verify that. And then implement the functions that it suggests to then say, hey, make sure that this function satisfies these tests and continue going that process. The next step would be to iterate, right? What's the next step, right? Make it so that it doesn't matter if it's Alice or, whatever user. So I would say, again, prompt engineering, construct the tests so that regardless of what user has been put in. And then the next step would be use a key value store in Redis and connect me to Google Memory Store. MemStore. So all of those things is something that Duet can help me with, but as part of that, again, change the test, fail, iterate on the code, and then go back and do the test, succeed. Now change and refactor to what you need, and then continue building into your business case. I hope this is insightful. I think this is a really cool time in our space, but I just wanted to kind of show you my thought process around how I'm using Duet AI as a paired programmer and in helping me kind of build out my structure without me kind of saying I'm not turning it over to it. I'm still verifying and looking at the code and making sure the logic is sound. Right? Thank you.